I would just prefer to play, $1,500, $2,500 buy-ins. That's what I've done for 20 years. And that's what I enjoy.
You hear that, Triton guys? You're boring everyone. What's up, everybody? Today we've got the guy who was pretty much responsible for starting the first poker boom. He won the 2003 main event, and he's been pretty much in the scenes the entire time, and he's still continuing his success to this day. And he's here to tell us a bit about all that. Welcome, Chris Moneymaker. What's going on?
Not much, Jungleman. How are you doing, brother? Long time. It's been about a week and a half.
Yeah, well, we finally made it together. We were just talking about you winning the 2003 main event championship. You're the only main event. No, I know. I know the guy who won last one. I know a couple of them, but I don't know the years. You know, like a few years of people winning the mains. I mean, that's like probably more than most people. I don't know how many people know like who won every single main event.
It's crazy how many people in poker know every main event winner every year.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually pretty insane.
Okay, I'm gonna have to test this because I don't know like any of them, and people.
If you ask a poker fan, like just random 2-5 poker fan, they're gonna know like almost everybody.
Really? I had no idea. See, I'm like awful at this shit.
Yeah, I'm not good at it either. It's definitely not my strength.
All right, I don't know if it's really the ideal strength, as you've said, as you've kind of. I mean, I don't know how like useful this information is, to be honest. No offense to the people that do know it, but whatever.
If you're playing Jeopardy or something, maybe, I don't know.
Well, there you go. See, I'm like shit at Jeopardy, or pretty shit. So, I know the answer to this, but is your last name actually Moneymaker?
It is.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to get that out there for the fans, just because probably a lot of them are going to be asking something like that. So,
well, there was a big scuttle with my April Fool's joke a couple of years ago where I said my name was Smith, and everybody now believes my name is Smith. It was an April Fool's joke, and it got legs because people don't look at the date, and it's still out there on the internet, which is, quite funny.
Did you know there's a Chris Smith in poker also?
Nope, had no idea that. Well, I'm sure there is. I mean, I didn't know. I don't know him if he plays a lot.
He does play a lot. He plays mostly private games though. He's a pretty nice guy for the most part. I don't know if. I mean, he doesn't have the best reputation as a poker player. He's not that bad of a poker player, but he's a decent guy.
So Chris Smith sucks at poker. That's what we're getting out of this interview. All right, sorry, Chris Smith.
I would not say that, actually. It's not really fair to say. Just maybe in like the top, maybe sucks compared to like the top pros. Let's put it that way. That might be more accurate to say. I mean, he probably has a lot of money, actually. All right, well, let's talk more about you. So I watched your story. It seemed like you did have a bit of a gambling situation before poker. And it seems like you won the whole thing from, I believe it's an $86 satellite. Is that right? Why don't you tell us a bit about what happened?
Yeah, $86 satellite. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was a pretty much addicted gambler. I bet on sports pretty consistently. Through college, I bet pretty big. Built up a nice roll, lost it all, chased it for 2 or 3 years. Got out into the corporate world, started working as an accountant. My gambling continued. Found poker when I was about 23 years old, which was about 2001, and was playing home games with friends, and then found out you could play online. Started playing online, won a satellite to the main event. My first live tournament I ever played was the main event. Went out and obviously won that, and all of a sudden started kind of the poker boom. The next event I play is a WPT, and I get second. So My poker career started off in a gangbuster style, and so I spent the next 20 years traveling around the world playing.
That's not too bad of a story. I have
Yeah.
a question. So one second. Okay, so I've got a question. Did you ever get over your degenerative tendencies, or you just like gambled a little bit, and it wasn't such a big leak?
Yeah, it's funny. Once you make money, like, you don't really need that. I don't know. For me, anyways, I didn't need that DGen leak anymore. I lost it. I still bet on sports, but I bet the same amount. Like, I was betting 1,000 a game
Mm-hmm.
back then, and I'm betting 1,000 a game now. And if I don't even bet much anymore. I mean, the only way I really bet a game is if I go to the game. If my son wants to go to a game, I'll probably bet on it one way or the other. But for the most part, I don't need that. I don't really have the itch anymore. Kind of lost that, which is nice. Again, once you have a certain comfort level, I guess you don't really look for that. So it broke me of it. Thank goodness.
Okay, I did not know that. I personally, I mean, I could see how that could be the case. I mean, maybe you're just like chasing a lot, and I mean, I felt something similar in other arenas, but not poker. Um, or not when it came to money. I didn't have that. For other things, I had that, or at least it
Well, I had
seemed.
it for alcohol. I had it for alcohol. I had it for a lot of stuff probably too. Food, gambling.
Uh,
It's hard to quit all that stuff.
for what's the last one?
Food, drinking, and gambling.
Oh well,
Those
food is a bit more.
and cigarettes.
Oh, okay. Food is a bit more natural one. I guess cigarettes can be that way too. I mean, a lot of people eat when they get stressed. Actually, it's a very common thing. Um,
Well, I ate 24 hours a day. My diet was terrible. It's funny because back when I won the World Series, everybody kind of looked like me. They were heavy set, middle aged, older guys. That was the general uh, description of a poker player back then.
mhm.
Now, I mean, the top players in the world are all going to the gym. They're all taking care of their bodies, and the game has obviously evolved a lot. I mean, we were just both in the Triton, and I saw you in the gym. I saw basically everybody there
Saw
was
you
in
in
the
the
gym
gym.
essentially. Everybody there was in the gym. Getting in shape. So I'm
Yeah,
trying to fit in.
it's a pretty hard change. I mean, it is possible though. I mean, actually, one of the things, by the way, I'm building a community where people. I'm trying to get people to go to the gym. It's not that easy. But one of the things I like held a challenge where people went to the gym every day, or 10 days out of 14 days. Um, that they'd get like a free lesson for me. 10 days out of 14 is actually too much. It doesn't have to be that much, but um,
You owe me a couple free lessons. Then I'm ready to go. Let's go.
we can figure something out. I think.
All right.
Actually, your story for inspiring people doesn't have to end certainly with just the poker transformation or the poker win. You could also show like the body transformation. Then that's also a story.
I'm trying. I'm down 33 pounds right now, and I'm lifting a lot more than what I have in a while. So hopefully the body transformation continues. It's been pretty easy. I didn't do any weight loss bets or anything like that. So I just did it because I wanted to for my kids and wanted to live longer. It's definitely. I think it's helped my poker game some. I'm not as tired as I was. I don't really get. I used to just fall asleep in my chair all the time. Where now, I'm pretty good to go.
Well, 33 pounds is a lot. I wonder. I mean, like that is kind of a big deal. Um, or like a yeah, it is a very big deal. It's not. It takes like something like 6 pounds a month. So you must have been at it for a while. Well, good job. That's something. It requires like a whole like lifestyle change. Rooting
It
for you.
has for sure.
Maybe you can race with Sean Deeb. It seems like there's a collaboration there.
Yeah, honestly, when Sean Deeb started, is pretty much when I started, and he gave me a little bit of inspiration on it, and it's funny because he was down 40 during the World Series of Poker and didn't really look like it. I don't know. He's carrying a lot of his weight in his face, so hopefully, I do too. I carry a lot on my neck, but hopefully he'll start shedding it for his weight loss bet.
Well, shout out to Sean Deeb for inspiring. I mean, this is, by the way, what kind of change I'm trying to do, also with the podcast. The way you get to a large scale change is literally by people starting at a small scale and it's supposed to, and finding some kind of way to grow and grow. But basically, to start a trend of a series of positive changes in a certain direction. But one of them is health that I personally want to focus on. It's a thing for me that I'm changing. Um, it's challenging though for a few reasons. I don't know. I found money always to be a bigger motivator um, to like do things for than just eat healthy, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, weight loss bets are obviously designed because they get you up off the couch and they start you moving. Once you're going, it's generally the problem for poker players honestly is whenever you go on the road, your lifestyle changes so much versus when you're at home, and that was always my problem. I could start a diet or start working out, but then I went on the road and it all went to hell. Everything fell apart the second I hit the road, and then I reverted back to my old ways because whatever, I'd already messed it up. And I've been working with a guy now. It's like if I have a bad day, I eat things that I'm not supposed to eat. We just get right back on track tomorrow and go back to the gym, and we don't lose focus. And I've gone through 3 trips now where I've been on the road: the World Series, uh, London, and one other place where I was able to maintain the weight loss and maintain the good dieting. And well, not even dieting. I don't really diet. I just eat things that are healthier for me than what I was doing before.
Well,
But that's the toughest thing for a poker player is trying to deal with those changes in atmosphere.
yeah. Um, well, that's tough for anybody, actually. I mean, everyone like,
Yeah, but a lot of people, they just work at home or they go 9 to 5 job. They have a pretty
oh yeah,
standard, pretty set schedule. As a poker player, especially a tournament player, I mean, as you're well aware, I mean, it looks like you're in a hotel now. You're on the road a lot. Are you in London or where are you at?
no, I'm in Paris.
You're in Paris. What's in Paris?
Um, Disneyland, and also, uh, what else?
Facts.
Girls and um, what else? Pretty things. Uh, uh,
Pretty things. All right.
what French food? Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
The life of jungle. It's pretty awesome.
so yeah, I would say that that is a very big difficulty for poker players is that the lack of stability. I've had immense trouble with that. I had realized I had to chill out. It just throws me off a lot. Well, did you make any changes with your other habits as well?
Well, I mean, I've made changes over the years. I mean, I used to drink a lot. I don't drink anymore. I used to smoke. I don't smoke anymore. Um, and then as far as like diet, obviously I changed my diet and I started working out pretty consistently. The hardest thing for me actually was the diet. I mean, getting from drinking, I was drinking 12 Cokes a day to transition over to water, which is obviously a pretty big change. I
Oh
lost a
yeah.
lot of weight just doing that alone.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's were they Coke Zeros or were they regular Cokes?
No, full blooded, all
The
the
real,
calorie Cokes.
the straight
I,
up
I
bad
was
shit.
drinking a full days of, uh, you know, calories and just drinking. Didn't even include my food. I was probably consuming 5,000 calories a day, thanks to my Coke intake.
Shit.
That's
What?
why I went to 285 pounds. I mean, my normal body weight's probably about 170, 175, and I went to 285. So
Oh, okay.
got
Well, you made a lot of changes. Congrats. I mean, to kick all those things is not easy. I mean, kicking smoking alone, even like one of those things is tough. Like I think that's the
It was
pretty.
tough. I quit smoking about 4 years ago, so and it was pretty tough. I had some withdrawals, but once I kicked it, I was obviously I just kicked it. So
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that I think is, I mean, really noteworthy. Most people cannot make these kinds of changes. Actually, I would say less than 1% makes maybe even two of these changes combined.
well, I'll give you my secret for the smoking. It was actually I had an idea that it worked for me, but I live about 15 minutes to the closest gas station or grocery store or anything like that, and um, this is right. This is before Uber. It's like I said, like 4 or 5 years ago. There wasn't Uber in our area. I told my wife to go down to the beach and take the kids and take all the keys with her and leave me at the house by myself where I can't leave. I couldn't go get cigarettes, so I'm stuck for a week, and I can't physically, unless I wanted to walk, you know, 10 miles both ways to get cigarettes. There's just no getting cigarettes. So I basically that's how I quit smoking. It sucked for 3 days. I had withdrawals. I was in bed. It was just horrible. By about the fifth day, things started to get better. By the time they got home, I was pretty clean, pretty good to go, and I'd never picked them up since.
Well, there's a psychological term for this, by the way, but I forget what it is. I really wish I knew what it is because it keeps coming up. But the basic idea is make it hard to do something. Um, and like obviously, if you have junk food and cigarettes laying around all day, it's gonna be real easy to pick up like laying around your house. It's gonna be real easy to pick up one of those or just say drinks. So you want to make it. You don't want to put these things in your house. Um, is
Yeah, we had cokes and junk food all over the house all the time. We've taken that out, so
oh well,
yeah,
yeah.
we've
Basically,
made a
will
lot of changes.
for the audience, but basically, willpower is not as powerful as the environment that you're in. There's just countless studies on this, and
You got to
um,
set yourself up for success. I
it,
mean, if you set yourself up for failure, it's going to be tough. I mean, if you're trying to smoke cigarettes and you got cigarettes anywhere close to you, yeah, you're probably just going to go back to it.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So tell us more about what you've been doing at poker the last few years. I saw you at Triton recently. You made a huge cash actually, in the 250K. Congratulations on that. I don't.
Appreciate it.
You know what? I forgot to look up what place you got. You got the third or fourth, something like that.
I got fifth place. Yet.
Okay, it's still really
So
good. I mean, in a field where there's quite a few top pros and all that. It's a really good
yeah,
tournament.
no, it was a tough field. It's probably one of my better accomplishments as far as poker goes. I mean, playing against that field. I mean, you play against that field all the time. That's my first Triton event. Um, I generally don't play that high stakes. ACR's been trying to get me to do them, and I keep saying no. They finally, I was supposed to go to Vietnam, and I backed out of it. And they said, well, if you back out of this one, you have to go to London. So they forced me to go to London. Um, that'll be my last one for a while. I hope. I don't plan on going back to any for any time soon.
Oh, why is that? You didn't like it?
I've never liked high stakes poker. It's just never been my thing.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't really have to compete against the best in the world. That's not really something that
Fair point.
I have to do. I mean, I'm pretty good financially, so like, there's really no point in me risking. You know, I lost 320K before I even started the trade when I got out there playing cash, and that's generally not like what I like to do. I generally play 5-10, 10 and a quarter, things where I just can't get hurt. I enjoy the game, and when I play at lower stakes, people are having fun. It's more, people are uh, telling stories, and it's more of a social game where you play on the Triton, for example. There are people that are talking and having a good time, but it's a lot more serious. It's a lot more, people are really in their thoughts, and there were tables that no one ever said a word the entire time, and I don't enjoy playing poker when I don't really talk. So I
Oh
would I
yeah.
would just prefer to play, $1,500, $2,500 buy-ins. That's what I've done for 20 years. And that's what I enjoy.
You hear that, Triton guys? You're boring everyone. start saying things. I like couldn't even. I felt like weird if I started talking too much at the final. Actually, probably should. Actually, I should in spite of just because they are too damn boring to be honest. I don't know. I
Well,
just
yeah, I
feel
mean
bad
they're
if I
playing for
annoy
so
them.
much money. I mean it's a different. They're playing for so much money. It's different. When you play a $1,500 buy-in event, you're still playing for a good chunk of money, but you're only investing $1,500. It's people are there for the week. They're it's a weekend thing for them. They go to work all the time, and then they want to come play a tournament on the weekend, and uh, just they want to enjoy themselves.
Hmm. I mean, for sure, the other ones are the smaller ones are more casual. Also, high stakes cash games are really casual. All sorts of dumb stuff happens in high stakes cash games. We were playing a 1K, 2K, but a 10K each stand up game, so it played like 4 times bigger. And I mean, there was some. It's weird because it's all jokes and stuff when we play these kinds of stakes for some reason.
Yeah, cash games are obviously different. I lost my money. I played the 1K 2K PLO while I was at Triton, and that's where I kind of got beat up. I ran pretty bad for about 30 minutes. It was real frustrating. It was actually the highest I'd ever played, and I didn't run very good on my first shot. So, but it was fun. Everybody was having a blast. I mean, cash games. You're right. It's a lot different. Those are enjoyable. A lot of variables that they throw into the game, whether stand up game or
Oh yeah.
deuce to seven, whatever.
By the way, I want to give a shout out to a guy who I think is really great at PLO coaching. This guy, Doctor GTO Dylan Wiseman. Um, but yeah, in PLO you can play great and like totally lose all the time. It's like kind of it's annoying as shit in that kind of game. Um, and even yeah, I mean it's tons of variance. You're probably better than that field. I have to imagine. I don't know how your PLO is, but um, uh, that's a decent money like making opportunity, and it's like a lot more fun. That's why I prefer the cash games.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to play high stakes, it would be cash games. I wouldn't play the tournaments. The tournaments are so tough. I mean, they are really brutal. Players are, they've got it solved. I mean, I'm sitting there, at the table talking to another pro, and he's like, "Yeah, that was a pure call." He lost so much equity by re-raising there, whatever. It's like, God, you're making my head hurt, man. Just trying to play a little poker.
the, the tournament robots are too much. Um, well, tell us a bit more about what else have you got going on in poker? I know you've got the well, I'm curious what kind of games you've been playing in the last few years. It sounds like it's been tournaments mostly. And I know that you've opened up a new tournament tour, the Moneymaker Poker Tour. Would you like to talk about that?
Yep. So we had our first stop, what, May, in the Moneymaker Poker Tour. We're down in West Palm Beach. We actually have our second stop coming up in Daytona Beach next week. The main event will be 2 weeks from now. It's a 2 week series down in Daytona Beach. We've announced Cincinnati. We're going to be stopping in Cincinnati in September. And then we've got, I think, 3 more stops set for 2023. We haven't made the announcements on them yet, but they're going to be some fun stops. I think people will be excited about those. And then looking at doing 12 stops in 2024. Probably bringing it internationally, but probably just doing 12 stops throughout the U.S. In 2024. We've got almost all those dates locked down. We've had a lot of good reception from casinos and made a lot of good partners on that. We're also trying to open up card clubs, kind of similar to what they do in Texas. Opened up one in Kentucky. We got shut down. Trying to do another one, but got to fight through legislation and all this other stuff to get it open. Trying to go to a different market where not everybody is. There's probably 96, I think last count 96 rooms in Texas, so pretty populated market. There's 4 in Kentucky right now. Obviously, it's a much more difficult market to get into, though. Much smaller market, but also a lot more difficult.
Well, that could be a good thing too if you happen to get into it. If you're the only one that gets into it, then you have no competition.
I had no competition. Everything was going all right, and they shut us down. So we're kind of back to the drawing board. But I believe we'll get there next year or two. We'll see.
Well,
But the tour is going to be the thing that we're going to focus on until we get that up and going. Um, Good thing is we can bring the tour to the club whenever we get a club open.
okay, well that's kind of exciting. Do you have any plans for the tour? What were your goals or with making it, and what made you decide to make it?
Well, honestly, like you see all these other tours that are either they just aren't player friendly. They'll either cancel guarantees or
Really?
they'll decide that what the World Series this year we're not going to play to the money. We're going to stop uh, three people before. Like they just don't pay attention to the players. They don't listen to generally what players want, and there's not a whole lot of good poker tours out there that offer a good variety for players. So, and again, it's more of the guarantee stuff. When you put a guarantee on a tournament, you're supposed to pay it, and there's been too many times where uh, properties or tours, don't pay their guarantee if people don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we put a guarantee out there, we're going to pay it no matter what. And yeah, so I mean that was kind of the driving factor in starting the tour. I went out and got probably one of the best tournament directors there is, and Tony Burns. He used to run the Seminole Hard Rock Florida room. He's my head tournament guy, and he's doing all the scheduling. He does all the work essentially. I just get to put my name on it and go play poker, which
Mm-hmm.
is what I told him. And I've got a couple other people. I think you've met a lady that works for me in London. I think we might be doing some charity stuff.
Oh, really?
I basically tell them that I don't want to do any work. I just want to play poker, so they go do all the work, which is nice.
Yeah, that is kind of nice. It's just a bit complicated to figure out all this shit, especially organizing people. I've done a little bit of that, so I know some of that stuff. Who's canceling guarantees? That's I didn't know a lot of tournaments are doing that. That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I know. I think the Venetian canceled a few. I know there's probably been 4 or 5 different ones that have canceled guarantees in the last couple of years for different reasons, or well, they'll either cancel the guarantee or they'll put people in at half price. You know, they'll do a
What?
lot of things that are unethical to meet the guarantees.
You can't put people in at half the price. What? That seems crazy.
Yep. Well, when you're not going to meet your guarantee, they just start putting all their friends in and putting everybody in the world in. Giving them discounts and just because I guess they're free rolling, so they're putting people in. It was I can't remember the place, but that was kind of what was happening at one of the stops. I'm pretty sure the Venetian's the one that's pulled a couple of their guarantees. Um, so yeah, when those things started happening, I was like, I want to create a tour that players like to go play. Players can really enjoy themselves and be proud of it, and they don't have to worry about us pulling guarantees or making schedules that are not player friendly. We want to give people a good chance to play, but at the same time, uh, get them out the door.
All right, the Moneymaker Tour for the people. All right, I like it.
That's the idea.
Well, I hope you succeed because I'm certainly a fan of things that are good for the people. Trying that this podcast is meant to be for the people. At least that's the idea. It's not as easy as it sounds to align interests properly, but a lot of people just don't give a these days, and I think it's an issue.
Poker's a tough. It's tough to align your interest with the people. Poker's a tough market for sure. I think we're going to do our best. I know that myself and Tony and we have the same goals, so I feel pretty confident that we're going to have a pretty good market for it. And again, the reception from the casinos have been good. We met all the guarantees our first stop, so
Mm-hmm.
um, so far so good.
Well, I've never heard of poker in some of these places like Cincinnati and Kentucky. I mean, I guess it exists. Like, I just haven't heard of it. I haven't been. I don't even know of like that many cross country I mean, maybe WPT has some cross country ones, but I haven't heard of too many
Well,
cross
there's
country.
there's Run Good, there's MSPT. There's been a couple other small ones too. You're playing 1K, 2K in Paris and everywhere else in the world, so you're not sitting in Kentucky or Cincinnati playing 2-5 and playing $1,500 buy-in. So yeah, you probably wouldn't know.
Oh,
It's a little bit different life, little different lifestyle.
oh. Well, I'm not aware of any 1K 2K games in Paris. Don't worry about that. Um, I understand your transition from being an accountant to a poker player had quite an effect on your love life. Do you want to talk about that? Like, how did that work for you?
Well, my first wife, she married a stay-at-home accountant. To be honest, she didn't marry a poker player. When we got together, 7 years going to school to be an accountant, and the plan was to be, not traveling, not doing all this, stuff. And uh, when I won the World Series of Poker, things obviously changed. We ended up getting divorced. Met my new wife. She knew what I did when we met. She was okay with it. We've been together ever since. Super happy. Honestly, couldn't be even happier. I mean, she's awesome. So, you know, I married probably a little bit too young the first time. Second time, I said I was never going to get married again. I was married the next year. I just met the perfect person, so it worked out.
All right. Well, good. How about that? Good job. That sounded a lot simpler than I imagine it would be. To be honest, it sounded.
Well, obviously, it wasn't that. When you start getting lawyers and everything else involved, it's never going to be that easy.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
that was the gist of it.
Oh, oh. So okay. Well, all the lawyer stuff aside, you found someone else, and it all worked out really well.
Yep. Couldn't be happier. She's awesome. I got super lucky. She's on a scale of 1 to 10 on the hotness scale. I'm probably like a 3.5, 4, and she's like a 7, 8. So um, that's pretty good.
I mean, that's a funny way to put it. Okay. All right. So, well, tell us a bit more about. You've been in poker for a really long time. How would you say it's changed in the last 20 years since 2003?
I mean, obviously, everything's changed. I mean, from how people look, how people took care of themselves, to the game itself. Um, you know, Back when 2003, what people don't realize is, um, like, where I played in Tunica, Mississippi, they had on the wall you couldn't check raise. Checking raising was not allowed. So they didn't have any no limit games. It was all limit. Um, there if you're looking for a no limit poker tournament, you couldn't find any. There was probably like three, four, five throughout the entire year. They were always in Tunica, Vegas, Atlantic City, and LA. Like that, there just wasn't poker anywhere else. And it was very, very rare to have a poker tournament going on. Obviously now, you got dailies going on at every single casino that has a poker room for the most part. You can find a poker tournament anywhere in the world on most occasions. The game has just exploded over the last 20 years, and it's not even recognizable to what it was back when I won. And also the amount of resources that we had in 2003. I mean, we had Doyle Brunson's Super System, Mike Caro's Book of Tells, and I think there was a satellite book. Maybe there was like 3 or 4 poker books, and that was it. I mean, there was no, you coaching. Everything that you have now, all the solvers and everything that you have now that are at your disposal. It's crazy how quickly you can get good at the game if you put the time in now versus 2003. You're just on your own. You just got to figure it out. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of resources out there. Your best resource was trying to get together with friends and talk strategy and figure out the best way. And I actually miss those days. It was nice, trying to figure it out on your own and not have GTO telling you exactly what to do and how you're supposed to play against the Daniel Cates of the world.
Well, It's very hard to play GTO, so you know. And a lot of
It is.
I don't think these poker players should play GTO. I think they play like this GTO. First of all, GTO has this reputation of like being really, really solid, which is true. It is really solid, but it absolutely is aggressive. It basically is aggressive in most situations, just a little bit, right? It's got the appropriate amount of bluffs with value, and a lot of these guys aren't making like that many moves. Well, not as many as they're supposed to. They for sure don't orient their strategy like GTO does. I can tell you that because it looks
Yeah.
much more alien than um, than what they usually do. They usually use like an abridged version, which is kind of boring to be honest, but
Well, I
works
mean, you
okay.
play a $1,500 buy-in event with GTO, you're going to get destroyed. I mean,
Oh yeah.
people are playing so far, so exploitable that one thing about GTO is it's great when you're playing against accomplished, really good players. It kind of keeps you out of trouble. It helps you not get abused too bad.
Oh yeah.
Um, but it also makes it to where it's tough when you're playing against guys that their three bets are only kings, queens, aces, and ace king. Like you play a 1,500 event a lot of times. I mean, the only three betting hands are premiums. So
Really.
like you can't just take ace five and just rip it because you're going to get looked up. Um, so it's just it's funny because I never use any kind of optimal theories for like GTO type when I play the 1500s. I used a lot of it during Triton. I um, played a lot more balanced, I guess, and tried to be really aware of not playing too much in early position and playing opening proper ranges where if I'm playing a bunch of other people, most people have so many tells and have so many things going on that you can open pretty freely and just outplay people, and they make so many mistakes that you can sometimes you look like an idiot, sometimes you look like a genius. It just really depends, but
They're not too far
you can
apart.
play from the hip. A lot of
um,
street poker.
oh yeah, actually, I read this book, Mike Caro's Book of Tells. I forgot about that. I don't know how useful that book is these days, to be honest. I think a lot of those tell books, I don't know, I don't really use them too much. Now there's tell courses, but there's some stuff in there that's like good, especially if
Mike
people.
Carroll's book of tells. It was basically if they act strong, they're weak. If they act weak, they're strong. That was the premise of the whole book.
I mean, yeah,
Uh,
that's kind of true. It's not 100% true. Obviously, it's like leans toward the true side. I would say it's no longer becomes true once you deal with more um, seasoned poker players. Actually, the I think the poker players, most professional poker players these days have pretty consistent patterns, but they look nothing like what they look like in that book. They're more like they almost lean in the opposite kind of direction, but that wouldn't be accurate to say either. It's as if like they're almost too disciplined in a way.
Basically, they're aware that they need to make this play. They've learned you got to make this play with this hand. So you take the emotion out of it, and they make the play. But they're so disciplined, knowing they have to make that play, that you can read that a lot of times.
Um,
Um,
I would say it's more like they're so like aware of what their image might be or what they might be doing or what how they might be perceived that they often psych themselves out and don't actually listen. They're not quite robotic enough. Let's put it that way. Um, but that's not universally true either. They basically just like psych themselves out because it would be like if someone an example would be if someone had this idea, okay, I'm going to be a good person, and then now they'd have like the ego of being a good person. It'd be like an equivalent way of looking at things. Now they have the ego of being a good person, so they like have this self righteous complex, and so they still have the ego.
Makes sense. But most people when you play like the $2,500, $1,500 buy-ins, most people aren't paying much attention anyways. I mean, they're playing their cards and playing whatever ranges they know to play. They're not really looking for tells or trying to pick up all kinds of information on players. They'll pick up the obvious stuff, but uh, you know, if you look around after about 30 minutes, no one's paying attention anymore, for the most part.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that sounds about right. I mean that's good news. It means poker's still alive. Um,
100% it is.
so I read that you looked up to Johnny Chan when he played. What was it about Johnny Chan that you liked so much, and or that you admired so much about him? And did you also have any other idols in poker?
Well, Johnny Chan, it's not that I looked up to him. He was really the only poker player I knew. He was in the movie Rounders. He was considered the perfect poker player. So when I played the main event, I only knew, like, physically knew three names in poker. I knew Johnny Chan, Doyle Brunson, and Phil Hellmuth. Those are the only three names I even knew who they were. So, and Johnny Chan was considered the perfect poker player. So, yeah, I wanted to be the perfect poker player. I wanted to be like Johnny Chan, and you know, I just didn't know any better. Over time, that transitioned pretty greatly. I probably my biggest friend and mentor slash someone I look up to is probably Joe Hashem. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's been a friend of mine for years. I like the way he balances poker and family and how he just handles himself on and off the felt. So he's probably been one of my biggest inspirations in poker, and watching him and how he just handles himself is um, something I've always tried to emulate.
Okay, I've heard good things about Joe. I don't know him that well. Um, Johnny, I don't know
He's a good guy,
either.
family guy. You know, he doesn't travel much anymore. He stopped traveling so much years ago after he left Poker Stars. He decided he was going to stay in Australia more. He'll come over for the WSOP, and he'll come over for um, the LA tour, LA stop every once in a while, but mostly just the WSOP. You don't really see him come over out of Australia much anymore.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Australia's fun. You should take the Moneymaker Tour there if you can.
I've already been in the works of talking to it. I made a couple trips down there. Yeah, it's pretty amazing down there.
Cool.
We got to walk before we run though. We got to get we've got a lot of work to do in the U.S. still. So, but we'll get there.
All right. Well, hopefully make that happen. I wanted to ask, since you made a ton of money, you must have had a like a huge swing in your net worth. What how did that affect? What'd you do next, first of all, and also, um, what what changed after that? Because you must have gone from having whatever amount of money to having like whatever like multiple millions of dollars in your bank account, right? Like $8 million or whatever it was. Um, like there must have been
Well,
some changes for sure. Your
yeah, it
wife
was
must have been happy.
I won 2.5 million, and I ended up, like I said, my wife at the time
Oh yeah.
didn't like what I was doing, so I was essentially broke pretty quickly after winning the main event because we went through a divorce, and I basically gave her all the money,
Oh,
kept my business interests, and just let her have the money. But over time, built back, and it was more of a consistent grind than just kind of banking the 2.5.
oh, that's interesting.
If Yeah, I would have probably just spew lost the 2.5 if I didn't uh, grind it back and do it through appearances and poker and ambassador stuff. I built it over 20 years, and obviously any poker tournament I hit, it's obviously a nice little bink. But for the most part, it's been um, you know, just putting back, saving, and uh, being smart with money. I mean, we went for many, many years without really spending a whole lot. We were real conservative. We actually just started spending a little bit more recently. We bought a second home and a boat and some jet skis
Oh
and
wow.
a couple of nicer things. But for the most part, we've always been pretty practical. Made sure that college funds and retirement accounts and all that stuff were taken care of first, and now we get to play a little bit. We get have a little bit of freedom to you know do different things.
Oh, awesome. It sounds like you're killing it. So that's actually really interesting. It sounds like you didn't even need the main event to be successful, because if you lost the whole had to pay out the whole amount in divorce funds, it sounds like you must have had some business stuff going on in the background or something.
Well, the main event was big because it opened up opportunities to do appearances and do, you know, obviously I worked for Poker Stars for 17 years. They paid me a salary. I did appearances. I would go and do a weekend. You know, almost every 2 or 3 weekends, I would go and get $7,500 for showing up at a casino. And you do that enough, it adds up pretty quickly. And then the good thing is I'm playing in games where you know I'm making $5,000 to $10,000 in these little appearance games, and just keep stocking it back, and over time it adds up, and put got money in Bitcoin, and you know
Mm.
things just worked out, I guess.
Okay, I mean, if do you want to give any advice on that for the viewers? Because something that's a slow grind upwards seems like a more reliable track than banking a huge tournament, because it's very hard to bank a huge tournament.
Well, it's hard to make a huge. I mean, it's like winning the lottery or whatever. I mean, whenever you come into immediate success, for most people, that's why you hear so many lottery winners that go broke. They all of a sudden just start spending money. Well, they don't have money coming in later that sustains them. You got to have consistent money coming in. You got to set yourself up to, if you were to hit the lottery, the best advice I could give you, or win a big tournament, go buy rental properties, go buy something that's going to give you residual income. That's something that's going to you can't get to, and will generate revenue going forward for the rest of your life. That's the way to do it. You bank one big one, and you just go start spending money left and right. Before too long, you're going to have to bank another one, or you're going to be broke. And so, yeah, I mean, like Bitcoin's obviously a pretty good investment, or it has been over the last decade. Um, I believe it still has a lot of growth in it. You know, I think cryptocurrencies are the future, but I've kind of believed that for the last couple of years. But um,
Hmm.
it's kind of scary when you look at the U.S. dollar and some of the things that because we just keep printing money, our debt's going through the roof, and so you just make sure you're diversified. Make sure you want to have real estate. You want to make sure you have crypto, gold, silver. A good mix of everything. So if something goes down, generally the others go up. Um, so I just make sure I diversified really well, and it. Whenever something goes really bad, the other generally goes up. So it works out pretty well.
So something that is hard to take down completely, where you have many like fail safes, and not all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. I personally think that there's a really high chance of negative parabolic or negative, just basically negative drastic negative events like in the future. I mean, for example, one thing is that the U.S. debt is going pretty much out of control, but there's a lot of factors like that in today's world that really make volatility kind of skyrocket, which means having something reliable and stable and that has tangible value like real estate assets or gold, or real estate assets especially, um, probably is really important in the future.
For sure. I mean, if the economy crashes, gold's going to be good, real estate's going to be good. It's really going to be hard for those to really lose a lot of value when things go bad. Obviously, when everything in the economy and everything else is doing well, those don't do as well, but you're happy because you have other stuff. But again, if you're diversified, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you have fail safes put into place that if something bad happens, then you've got backups, and all of a sudden now your gold and silver's going up, or your real estate's still generating your revenue. So,
Mm-hmm.
just every time you make a little bit of money, put a little portion back, and you make your emergency fund. Put back 6 months of expenses, and then after that, start investing and just take a little bit and invest in crypto, invest in gold, invest. Real estate's tough because obviously it's pretty expensive. It's hard to find cheap real estate anymore. So I would focus on, if it were me again starting from scratch, I would focus on crypto and gold.
All right. Well, crypto and gold, pretty simple. Uh, I do think simple's also good, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I'll get some money in gold, especially I have some in crypto, but whatever. Anyway, I gotta go in a second. Running out of time. Anything else you want to talk about? Any future plans?
I'm working with America's Card Room now.
Mm-hmm.
We're about ready to do the cage. We're starting some tours with them. We just revamped the site, so we're growing. Everything's going fantastic there. Super excited about what ACR Poker is going to have in the future. We just unveiled mystery bounties, so playing online a lot more than what I have been in the past, and um, yeah. So I mean, I plan on playing a lot online, and then uh, try not to travel as much as I used to, but I got Costa Rica tomorrow, and then we have Daytona Beach, our Daytona Beach stop for the Moneymaker Tour, and then we have Cincinnati right after that. So uh, got a pretty busy schedule coming up. Uh, but I guess busy is not a bad thing.
One more thing. What's the cage?
The cage is they used to have it back in the day. It's a brand new. Well, it's not brand new. It's since COVID. This will be the first one. It's a hybrid between cash and tournament. So you buy in for, I think the buy-in's $5,000, and you play. The blinds start at like 510, then go to 1025, 2550. So for 2 days they continue to go up, and you can't cash out. You have to stay in the cage. Either you go broke and you're done, or whatever money you make when you get to the end of the cage. Say you made 60,000, you walk with your 60,000 in cash. It's a cash game with the blinds increasing essentially, and you can't leave.
Okay. Okay.
So
All right. Is it private? I'm curious. I might want to play.
nope, not private. First one's going to be in Costa Rica. Starts Wednesday. I know Dwan's going to be down there. Actually, I think he's coming. Phil's going to plan on having bigger cages, I believe, and he's going to have some private games, I think, down in Costa Rica. So, you might want to look into it. I think December we're talking about having another one. It's going to be probably have a couple different ones a year in different locations. So it's definitely something you'll want to look into, especially some of the bigger ones.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. Thank you for your time. Best of luck also for the Moneymaker Tour, and hope to see you in the future. Hope you keep positive change going and inspire more people.
Same to you. I appreciate what you're doing, and hopefully we'll get to work together on some of this charity stuff, and I'm sure I'll see you on the road, and hopefully see you in the gym, because
All right.
that's where we both need to be. So,
All right, sounds good. See you,
Yeah,
see you
take
in the
care, buddy.
gym and the charity. Let's grow together and make a positive change together.
sounds good. All right, buddy.
All right.
Have a good one.
See ya.